And they were also designed so that you could try to emulate basically all the other mainstream compressors.
Mm-hmm.
And to actually give you a flair for that, I would point you in the direction of its manual.
Okay.
But needless to say, there's ways to trick out its detection circuit to say, hey, listen to this frequency range opposed to this one for your threshold triggers. Because you can manipulate its attack and release times, you can make it emulate optical circuitry. So 1176 or LA2A, you can cheat it with the distressor.
Really?
Yes. It's not to say that it sounds exactly like those, but when it comes down to it, if you had one of these and you had it, you don't necessarily have to have one of these or one of these, because ideally you could sneak one of these or these out of this.
Yeah.
Right? And all on their own, they can act like hammers, meaning squish it to an inch of its life. Hello, bright blue nuke setting for ratio. Or it could be extremely gentle. So it's a very versatile piece. And that's why in this room, if I was doing drums, I would go to the distressors.
Ridiculous there.
Because I can manipulate attack times and release times and all that wonderful stuff. Whereas on these guys, not a chance.
Yeah. And these particular things have particular sounds.
Right.
So like the characteristics of it.
Right. So right off the rip, if I were to go after anything, I would put vocals through the LA2A.
Okay.
Just because of how it reacts to a vocal, it sounds wonderful and it treats it very natural.
I feel like the LA2A is kind of versatile. Like
it is, but you gotta watch out because it can be slow, which is why vocals it works well, because typically transients in a vocal are nil to anything. You can put a vocal through an an 1176, but like I said, if you have a choice between the two of them, I would jump down to the LA2A. Easy choice.
Why?
Just because. Just because I have the choice. Then 1176s are my usual go-to guys if I've got a bass. And a mic'd bass at that. DIs exist for just saving our butts. That's my opinion. If you know how to mic up a real bass amp, there's no reason for a DI. There's a good one. Okay? So basses I will put through there. Honestly, guitars, I don't know why people put compressors and limiters on guitars, because their amps do that anyway.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like you. I mean, sometimes you can get some.
You can get some. You can actually change the dynamic envelope, but you're really not doing anything beyond that. Yes, adding the sonic characteristic of the piece itself, but it's going to be lost in that wash of whatever distortion you've got going on.
Yeah, because I mean, because that's what distortion does. Is compress the signal.
Right. Yeah. So good luck with that, and try to really explain why you're using a compressor on such an instrument. I don't know why, but there you go. So that's what I would do with those. Other oddity instruments, I would probably go through the 1176 prior to going to the LA2A.
So you would hit it soft with this, and then
yeah, that is another good thing to start to add into your toolbox. Is do not try to do a one-stop shop compressor. If you can gently squeeze it down completely, from up here down to this, you don't try to do it all in one fell swoop. Go in the stage and say, okay, I'm going to run it through it once, I'm going to run it through twice, 3 times.
I actually been doing that with vocals lately, and I've been getting the kind of
right. Honestly, with vocals, you should track them so that they're limited, so that you don't get peaks.
Yeah.
Track them so that they stay in range, and then after that, start to to manipulate the compressor in chunks so that you can bring it into a complete tamed, there you are, bland dynamic content.
Okay, so these are all the same preamps here.
So 512s, all the same preamps. The Focusrite's different flavor, probably too harsh for what you're going after. But the 512s and the SSL pre's.
So this would be like a rock compressor.
You could try it. They have a characteristic that, yeah, I'd go with rock stuff. But it's not to say you couldn't use it with other things. The Duressers they're de-essers, but they're also, you can use those as standalone filters.
So filtering high frequencies?
Yes. And actually you could do them as high or low passes. And let's see. The EQs, obviously the parametric and then the graphics, sculpt. Once again, I will say that they're last resorts for poor mic placement.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Okay. There it is.
This is dynamics and EQ.
That's the dynamics, and there's an EQ. We threw the Uris in there because they were given to us from some place. Also, parametric EQs have wonderful filters in them. Cannot say enough about filters because filters are where it's at. The Aurum paragraphic EQ. Why? Because it has a graphic representation, but parametric qualities. Also has filters in it that you can change around. Life is good.
So, okay, I have a question. Say I have a Pro Tools mix, and I would like to use the 1176, and compress with the outboard gear in the Pro Tools, and then record it into my session.
Few ways. The first off the rip I would say is go ahead and use this piece as a hardware insert. So that means when you go into insert, you can say, use outputs A1, A2, A1, and return it on A1. So whatever that is on our bait. Well, in here it would be 1 and 1, input and output. So you find the DAW output 1, go into your 1176, from the 1176 back into input 1, and now that exists inside of Pro Tools. But as far as keeping it in there, then you would have to take the output of that track and bus it to a new audio track and re-record it.
Oh.
At which point you can do the process over and over and over and over and over again.
That's true.
Okay?
All right. Thank you.
Not a problem.